Okay. Looks like we're up and running. What is good, everybody? It is the Godfather of VR, the ageless wonder. Yikes! I'm gonna drop my phone. The man Lincoln Clay, and we are back, more or less with a podcast. Um, I'm just running GT7, kind of like background material. I may or may not do a race, but more than anything, this is just a podcast to talk about the upcoming state of play next Thursday, and what I think we can expect to see. Talking about how I think this is it's finally about time. This silly silence that we have been getting from Sony. It's about damn time that this shit's about to end. But before we get into that, the first thing I want to talk about is the recent update to this game. There was an update to this game this past Thursday, and it appears that they toned down the force feedback for fear of people getting injured, and that's been sparking some complaints. And it's prompted me to wonder, what are they doing with this game? This is the second such update where we've gotten some complaints after an update. The first big complaint was, I think when they adjusted the payout and it was down for a few days because of the microtransaction stuff, and once it was back up in line, I think they adjusted the physics, and people were saying that the physics have been kind of dialed back to GT Sport. And now we get this latest update, toning down the force feedback. I mean, what are we doing here? They call this game the real racing simulator. And when this game first came out, despite some of the bugs that this game had, despite the egregious microtransactions, I was led to believe that this game, while I think the casuals were still the main target of this game, I still thought that they were making an attempt to appease the hardcore as well with the physics. But it looks like with each update, they start to cater more and more to the casuals. And I actually commented on Z28's stream. This was after the fact. I commented that I think maybe Polyphony Digital needs to make an Assetto Corsa type of game. This dedicated to the hardcore, because when you make a game where you're trying to cater to everybody, you try to make an all-in-one game that covers all aspects of racing, and you're still trying to cater to the hardcore and the casuals, you're going to get some complaints. So my thinking is just go ahead and give this game to the casuals and break off and make a Assetto Corsa Competizione type game strictly for the hardcore, where the best of the best will come to compete in this game. I think that would be the best move to satisfy everybody, but I don't think they would do anything like that, because if they were to make a hardcore version of GT7 dedicated to the hardcore, they wouldn't make any money off microtransactions, because I don't think the hardcore would buy microtransactions like that. And if you made a hardcore game like this and put microtransactions in it, you will enrage the hardcore. Because I can tell you right now, if they made a hardcore version of this game, I would buy it. But if I get in there and find out it had microtransactions, I would not spend a single penny on the microtransactions. So that's why I think games like a lot of games like Assetto Corsa Competizione is perfect. You know, they come out with their car packs, their race packs. It's DLC. You pay for it, and that's the end of it. You know, there's no microtransactions in economy where you have to spend money for upgrades. Just, I mean, the hardcore games don't have that. Instead, of course, the Competizione, you know, either you have the track packs or you don't. It's just that simple. So yeah, since it's becoming obvious that this game is being more and more catered to the casuals, not only that, I'm not exactly feeling like this is a racing game. I'm starting to feel like it's more of a glorified game, maybe like The Crew. Although I've never played The Crew. I think I played the first Crew, but a long time ago. But I mean, the microtransactions in this game, not only are they aimed at the casuals, they're aimed at the car collectors. So that's another aspect of it. I consider myself a casual. Never got ACC or iRacing. I would like to get Automobilista too. At the moment, as far as Automobilista 2, whether it's in VR or flat screen, is one of the best looking games out there. I like ACC better. I'm just used to the physics. But I do think Automobilista 2 is a good game. And as far as the different classes of cars, you know, vintage, Formula 1, GT3, GTE, I think they've got cars in just about all classes. The only problem I have with Automobilista 2 is I don't think they have enough cars in each of those classes. You know, like maybe GT3, for instance, they might only have 4 or 5 cars in those classes. You know, and I'd like to see more like 10 cars. But other than that, I think Automobilista 2 is a good game. So yeah, to go ahead and wrap it up about this game, I think they just need to break off and make a hardcore version of this game. A GT7 Competizione, if you will, or GT7 XXX, or GT7 Pro, GT7. I don't know what you would call it, but I think they need to make a hardcore version of this game. And again, just give this game Gran Turismo Sport 2. They could do that. But I don't think they would do it. But I really do think the time has come that they really should do that, because with the updates that they've done to this game and catering more and more to the casuals, I'm starting to think that I'm beginning to wonder if they can hang on to the YouTubers that stream this game. I remember they had the GT5 games for. I remember they had the GT5 games for PS3, I believe. Two GT5 games. Oh, what you're probably talking about was I think it was I don't know if it was GT5 or one of those games that was on PS3. I think it was a GT4 or GT5. What they called, I think, Prologue. Yeah. Now, what that was to me, it was a glorified demo that you paid for. If I'm not mistaken, you paid $40 for that, and then when the full game comes out, if you decide to buy it, that $40 would be applied towards buying the full version of the game, if I'm not mistaken. And I never thought about it, but one of my friends gave his reasoning as to why they did that, because that Prologue, the new cars, the games, the graphics were great, but the old cars, to me, it looked like they copied and pasted some of the cars from like GT2 into that prologue, and so you had the old cars that had the jaggies. I mean, it was horrible. That was, to me, that was one of the most. That was to me. It just looked like a cost cutting move. I mean, you put these you copy and paste these old games into a new game, these old cars into a new game, and it looked cheap, and to me it broke the immersion. I'm driving a brand new car, but then I decide I wanted to go back and jump into a Supra or something from 1988, and the car's got all kinds of jaggies all over it. It broke the immersion. One of my friends, his reasoning was that they needed money to continue development, and that's why they put out the prologue to raise the money needed to finish development of the full game. And I said, hey, that really makes sense. Yeah, and I didn't. I mean, I kind of didn't want to believe that, because I felt like Sony's pockets were deep enough that they would be able to fund whatever it would cost to make this game, no matter what. But I don't know if that was a case of Polyphony cutting corners, or Sony ordering them to cut corners, because we know that's a thing over at Microsoft. They will definitely cut corners, and it's happened. In the case of Microsoft, it has happened with too many of their games where they have taken shortcuts. So in their case, I assume that the order came from Microsoft and not the devs themselves opting to take shortcuts. So, but coming back to the situation with the YouTubers, I think big YouTubers like the Key 25, Rory Alexander, Super GT, they're going to continue to play this game because they are full-time YouTubers. And they make their living off of this game. They've made their living off of this franchise. So they're going to continue to play this game no matter what kind of complaints they come up with. Other YouTubers, on the other hand, that's playing this game for the love of it, I don't know. Because I've already seen, a couple of YouTubers like Chupagetti and Andrew Racing start to include ACC as part of their lineup of the games that of the sim racing games that they stream. So there we have it. And so this will segue into this coming Thursday's State of Play. This coming Thursday, the State of Play, they're supposed to show games from third-party publishers, and they're supposed to show PSVR 2 games in development. What I'm taking from that is that a lot of the PSVR 2 games that they're going to be showing are going to be from third party. And I noticed that this time around, Sony made it a point to let everybody know that PSVR 2 games were going to be featured. I think they still haven't forgotten. That sounds like they contracted themselves to only play Gran Turismo. They aren't free to play anything else. That's a sticky situation, because like me, for instance, I've evolved my channel into like a VR sim racing channel. So when I stream other stuff, if I stream Halo Infinite or stream anything that's other than sim racing, I do get curious to how the audience will react to it, being that I built my channel, being that I've evolved my channel into a VR sim racing channel. Aren't they free to play anything else? Like you, who will play other games? Well, that's the difference. So where I was going with that tantrum is that I still have a full-time job, and YouTube is just a hobby to me right now. Those guys make their living. They have to pay their bills off of YouTube, and they built their channels off of GT7. Now, I think it wouldn't hurt, like Chupagetti. I think he might have started something, sort of. He broke off and streamed GT7, and he got a good amount of views. So now he's working GT7 into his lineup. I meant to say ACC. So now he streams ACC once a week on Tuesdays, because he's definitely getting views on that. Being that he's in the Philippines, he's got about 18,000 subs, and being that he's in the Philippines, you could live over there for pennies on the dollar. So I don't know if 18,000 subs is enough for him to live off of it and make be full time on YouTube. But in any case, coming back to my situation, I have a full time job. Aaron Robinson was good. I think that in order for me to be able to go full time with YouTube, I think I would need a minimum of 40,000 subs. Rory Alexander, my dude, Rory Alexander, when he announced that he quit his job and he was going full time with YouTube, he had 40,000 subs. I think Key 25, when he announced that he was going full time with YouTube, I think he was closing in on 40,000 subs. And along with the endorsement that these guys have with like Fanatec and GT Omega and whoever else, they're probably getting a few dollars on the side there. Yeah, Rory Alexander, I see him doing like streams like it's a regular job, like 8-hour streams a day. He got to break that content up. I've watched bits and pieces of his streams, but I'm not subbed to him. That's just, and there's nothing against him. Yeah, 4 to 8 hours. My big thing is that as far as GT7 goes, the more Polyphony Digital fucks with this game with these updates and turn it into a romper room game that's catered to the casuals, the less interested in this game that I become. Let's talk about some tracks, for instance. Monza, he gets click credit. Okay. Like the track Monza, for instance, on Assetto Corsa Competizione, Monza is my favorite track. My fastest lap on Monza is 150, and I'm breaking my damn neck to try to get to 149. But on ACC, if you want to have a realistic shot at winning, you have to turn in laps of like 147. So when I come over to GT7 on Monza and I see people turning in laps of 148, I have to wonder, are they that good, or these handicap type physics in this game that the physics make that possible? So it's hard for me to take this game serious the way I take ACC serious. The latest updates have fixed the car physics issues before they were way too twitchy. With the latest patch, I only use counter steering if I need it. No traction control. You mean with a race car, no traction control? You have to have a soft foot, because if you put your foot down with a race car, especially a GT3 or GTE car, that back end is going to snap loose. Earlier today, I was playing Assetto Corsa with the mods, and I jumped back into the 787B. That car has no traction control and no anti-lock brakes. The car starts out slow, but once it hits those high RPMs in first or second gear, the back end will come loose. So you got to have a soft foot with that car. This game, I don't know, like the last time I streamed this game, I barely noticed the difference on the traction control, setting the traction control down from 3 all the way down to number 1. I really didn't notice anything. And hence I go back to saying that it's hard for me to take this game serious. So, all right, I've with the controller, I will use a traction control at 1 and counter steering to strong. I believe I got the counter steering turned off because a while back you recommended that I turn the counter steering off, and I went back and turned the counter steering off, and I haven't really touched the settings since. But with wheels, I use traction controls at 0 and counter steering strong. Here, let's get another scape. Let's change cars and get another scape. Yeah, why not? Why not do the beautiful 787B? This car is history. Okay, so let's change gears and talk about the upcoming state of play. So as I started to say before, I think Sony was careful to let everybody know that this state of play will feature some PSVR 2 games, as the state of play that they did, I think last year, the year before, they didn't tell anybody. Counter steering only if I need it, though. GT3 cars like the Beetle, also I use no assist. Yeah, the Beetle and the GT3 class seems to be the best all-around car. So the state of play that they did a couple of years ago, they didn't tell anybody what was going to be in that state of play. And half the stuff they showed in that state of play was PSVR games, and people were livid. And so after that, Sony was careful to stay away from showing PSVR 2 stuff during their state of plays, which actually left me enraged because I felt like we deserved some shine too, because they sold 5-6 million headsets. While that's nothing to the 115 million PS4s that they sold, it's still 6 million headsets, and we still deserve some shine. We spent our money just like everybody else, and I dare say that when it comes to PSVR, we might have spent more money than everybody else because, for one, the games are cheaper, and two, there's so many different experiences that people want to experience. And I've said this before, that today I want to fly in a plane. Tomorrow, I want to be in a submarine. The day after that, I want to be in a race car. And I'm not the only one that thinks like that. That being said, I think people who own PSVR have a higher attach rate in terms of the games that they own. Because a lot of the casual gamers who own consoles, whether it be an Xbox or a PlayStation, they got their Call of Duties, they got their Maddens, and probably got their NBA 2Ks, and that's probably about it. I have hundreds of games, I believe, in my PlayStation library, and I think I have about I don't know, maybe about 100 games in my Steam library. So, point being is, we deserve some shine too, because we spend money. You could make the case that we spend the most money. So I was enraged when Sony tried to stay away from these state of plays showing PSVR content. So they made sure to give everybody a heads up this time, so there won't be any outrage. Everybody walks in knowing what they getting into. So I kind of think that's a good thing, because after this state of play is over, the flat screeners won't walk away from this crying, man, they showed a bunch of PSVR 2 stuff. You already know this walking in on Thursday. This is going to be a 30-minute state of play. I think about half of it is going to be dedicated to PSVR 2. With it being rumored that they're going to have about 20 games at launch for PSVR 2, I'd imagine a good chunk of these games that they're going to show are going to be launch games for PSVR 2. So, So one thing that they were careful to say was that they're going to be showing games that are in development for PSVR 2. So I don't think that, like, let's say they show us 15 games. I don't think all 15 games are going to be launch games. I think some of them are just, they're going to just show us that at some point, yes, this will come to PSVR 2. The one thing I'm curious about with this state of play is, are they going to show us everything, or are they just going to give us a sample? Because if they're going to show us everything, I don't think they should do a state of play style. I think they should have some kind of event formally introducing the headset, which they might. But some of the games that I'm going to run off, maybe we'll see them. Maybe we'll see these games at State of Play. Maybe we won't. But one thing I do believe that some of the games that I will run off, I do believe at some point will come to PSVR 2. And in my opinion, as far as Half-Life Alyx, Ghostbusters, Modern Warfare 2, some Bungie games, who knows? Yeah, I was going to run off some of those games. So as far as PSVR 2 goes, let's start with the elephant in the room, and that would be Modern Warfare 2. It is rumored that that game is going to have its own showcase for State of Play. And I guess this comes from a credible leaker who's an insider with the Call of Duty franchise. And I guess this guy has been right on a number of things in the past. And this leaker is saying that again, that Modern Warfare 2 is going to have its own showcase in the State of Play. What the leaker does not know is how deep the experience will be. Basically, the Modern Warfare 2 is going to have its own mode. From what this person is saying, it's not going to be a hybrid. So what I'm taking from that is, being that it's not going to be a hybrid, is that if this is an online game, I don't think they're going to be mixed in with the flat screeners. I think it's going to break off and have its own mode, because they want you to be able to use those orb controllers or the VR sense controllers, whatever you want to call it. And you would cause a terrible imbalance if you make Modern Warfare in VR and you integrate it with the flat screeners who play the game. It's not going to be balanced. Somebody's going to have a clear advantage to the point where they might start complaining. So I think that tells me that with Modern Warfare 2 breaking off and having its own VR mode, that I think they're going to make use of these orb controllers. I'll just continue to call them orb controllers for short, instead of saying PSVR 2 sense controllers. I don't want to keep saying that over and over again, so I'll just say orb controllers. That's what people were calling them before they got the official names. So I think this Modern Warfare 2 is basically going to be making use of the orb controllers, and I like that. So what I don't know is whether it'll be like a short 2-hour experience, whether it'll be an actual campaign, whether it'll be multiplayer, which I'm hoping it'll be multiplayer. When you say mode, that usually has a bad connotation to it. It ends up being some glorified demo at best. And that's why I had to say that, because we really don't know. I mean, this is still rumor at this point. So that being said, I don't really know what we're going to get. Jay Wags was good. I don't know what we're going to get. I don't know if we're going to get a demo, a glorified demo, like you said. I don't know if we're going to get a full-blown campaign or if we're going to get like a 2-hour campaign. I don't know if we're going to get a multiplayer with that. I would love to see a campaign that's maybe about 6-7 hours long, along with a multiplayer. Now, something like that, if PSVR 2 takes off, I can see people complaining about games only being 6-7 hours long as far as the campaign goes, because there was some complaints about that with the current PSVR. I think Blood and Truth might be one of them. Blood and Truth was a great game on PSVR. I'm not going to say it was too short, but I was going to say I wish it was longer. I think it might have been like 6 hours or something. It only took me like 3 days to finish it. So, yeah, I wish it would have been more like 8, 9, 10 hours. So we'll see. Now let's talk about some other games that I think it's like GT Sport or AC7 with their VR mode. I hate that word. I hate that word because of that. Jay Wags, wish they would make all them games like Resident Evil 7 have the option standard. You know, Jay Wags, at some point I'm going to get to that point of talking about how it's good that these games are finally coming to PSVR 2, but you know, as I said on Twitter earlier, I'm interested, but I'm not excited, because it shouldn't have taken this damn long for us to get this stuff. And I also have to wonder, let's do another escape, because I'm finding myself being distracted looking at this car. Let's switch cars. Resident Evil 7 Remake, I heard, and maybe Resident Evil 8. That'd be great to get a Resident Evil update for PSVR 2 or Resident. Those Tantrum, I think that's a given. Not only do I think that's a given, I think those are two games that you could see at the showcase this week. Resident Evil Remake. Jay Wags and Tantrum, you two have said something that's going to intertwine with what I've got to say. So let's just get this out the air right now. I think it's a given that Resident Evil 8 is going to come to PSVR 2. I think that's one of the reasons why the game was in first-person mode, because there was some complaints about the game being first person, and I think that is for the VR mode. The Resident Evil 7 remake, I think the benefit of doing a remake for Resident Evil 7 is so you have your free hands. So basically you'll be able to use these type of controllers and have your free hands versus using a controller like this. Because I'm telling you right now, if they do a Resident Evil 7 remake and you have to use this controller, I don't think there's no point in even doing it. I think you could just stick with the Resident Evil 7 that's on the current PSVR. And that's the beauty of what the modding community has done for PC VR. And that's part of the reason why I'm interested that these games are finally coming to PSVR, but I'm not excited about it, because we should have gotten this shit a couple of years ago, and the VR modding community they're giving us, there is talks of remaking Resident Evil 7. I did hear that, no, I didn't hear, I guess it's been kind of confirmed that there's going to be some games coming to PSVR 2 that are remakes of the current PSVR. So I wouldn't be surprised if Resident Evil 7 is one of them, because Resident Evil 7 is one of the most downloaded games for PSVR, along with Beat Saber. So Capcom has announced that Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2, 3 remakes are getting enhanced on PS5 and Xbox. Capcom announced the enhanced version of these Resident Evil game via press conference. And here's you know what? And the other thing about it is the VR community, the modding community. I was like, what? Okay, enhanced, not remade. It don't matter, J-Wags. We got it on PC. I was playing Resident Evil Village about a week and a half ago in VR, thanks to VR modder Prey Dog. He, I think he did VR mods for Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, and Resident Evil Village, all with the use of your free hands being able to use these controllers instead of a DualSense controller or Xbox controller. And then on the Oculus Quest, they brought us Resident Evil 4 in VR with the use of these controllers, so you don't have to use an Xbox controller. All that being said, if they do this showcase and they show Resident Evil Village, I'm gonna be like, I'm already playing it. That enhancement could possibly be PSVR 2. That good point, Tantrum. No, my whole thing is, I thought you guys meant they were just straight doing a remake of 7, and the game is 5 years old. No, I don't think they would do that. I think it's too early for a Last of Us remake as well. I could be wrong, but I think a Last of Us remake could be for the people that were outraged that Joel was killed in The Last of Us 2. I think that's something for them to go back into that game and see Joel when he was alive, and see Joel with upgraded graphics. To Dale Royce, spoiler alert. I don't know. I'm just speculating that if they do make a to get back in good graces. So, what's up, Josh? How you doing, bro? So yeah, I think if they did the Last of Us remake, it sounds crazy to say that, but I think that's something for the people who are upset that Joel was killed. Because oh, my bad, J-Wags. Are you serious? What do you mean you didn't know Joel died? You been in prison or something? Are you serious, bro? You tired? I'd imagine. Hey, I just woke up about an hour ago. This stream that I'm doing right now, I was supposed to do this shit. Oh, you said I'm just kidding. I meant to do this shit hours ago, man. But after I got done with that Alvo stream, I went and ordered a pizza, ate about five slices, and fell asleep, and I'm just now waking up. Yeah, but I think as far as The Last of Us go, the Last of Us, those who like Joel, it's over. Those people are not coming back to The Last of Us unless you come out with a game where he's still alive. And so a Last of Us remake would be a game where you could see Joel where he's alive, and you could see him with updated graphics. I never played The Last of Us, so I'm good. I also think another way that they could draw the Joel people back into the franchise, if they were to make like a Not a prequel, but I just woke up. Regarding The Last of Us, I won't until Neil leaves. I get what you're saying, Josh. I was watching some of one of your podcasts and one of your Twitter spaces about the story. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the story. I think the game looks beautiful, and I think the gameplay is great. And I think there was some parts of the story that was just absolutely idiotic. You know, there was parts of the game where you go out of your way to shoot somebody, and then you finally get them where you want them. And so instead of putting a bullet in their head to finish them off, you decide you want to take them out with your bare hands. And that ends up getting you killed in the process. So, yeah, I think I don't want to go along the lines and say that the story was stupid, because it'll end up hurting some people's feelings. They really, really, really love the game. But, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the story. So, that being said, I don't see myself buying that game. I've already watched somebody's playthrough of the game because I knew I was not going to buy the game, but I did want to weigh in on the story, so I watched the playthrough, and I gave my thoughts. And I can tell you, I won't be buying the game. I don't care if it does come to PC. Now, Ghost of Tsushima, I haven't bought it yet. And the game has kind of been out of the spotlight long enough that I think it could possibly come to PC. If that comes to PC, I'll buy it. Now, coming back to some of the games that we could see at this showcase this week. We've already talked about Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, that those games could show up. It's not about Joel either. It's how Naughty Dog fetishized the pandering. I definitely get where you're going with that. But Naughty Dog isn't the only one that's doing that. That's the agenda that they're trying to push now. I don't know why, but it's all over the place. Where you have a lot of stuff where some pandering going on with movies too. You know, movies like that Terminator, where they tricked everybody by having Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie, but it was more or less about pandering and pushing an agenda. And they just use Arnold Schwarzenegger to suck people in. Same thing with Gears 5. No, not necessarily Gears 5, but Gears 4. They sucked you into that game because they made you think that the game was all about Marcus passing the torch over to his son, JD, and then you get the game and it's you buy the game and it's all about introducing somebody else that's going to be the new face of Gears, and everybody's pandering to that character. So yeah, I get where you're coming from about the pandering. So that being said, it's not just Naughty Dog that's doing this shit. I think the government is pushing people to make this kind of material. I mean, look at the pandering we saw in that Batgirl series, you know, and shit like that. I don't even watch TV anymore because there's so much goddamn pandering going on, you know. And the pandering is gotten so bad that, you know, these days you can't even give somebody a damn compliment without that being taken as harassment and shit like that, and wanting to try to get you locked up for 26 years for saying somebody's hair looked nice. So, pandering for the politically correct and the woke. Yeah, for the most part, Tantrum. So, if a video game has got pandering in it, I won't buy it. If a movie's got pandering in it, I won't go watch it. I try to tell you guys years ago, we're going off the tracks here, But I tried to tell you guys years ago when Battlefield 5 first came out and they showed that trailer where that woman with that prosthetic arm was doing all kinds of Rambo type shit. And a lot of people got upset about that because they felt like it wasn't historically accurate because there were no women on the front line during the Second World War. And EA came out and insulted everybody and said that this is our rendition of the Second World War, and those who think women didn't serve in the war are uneducated, and if you don't like it, don't buy the game. Let's get a couple of things straight before we get back to this PSVR thing, this PSVR 2 thing, because I'm going off the tracks, but you touched a nerve. During the Second World War, women were not on the front line. They did contribute to the war by working in factories to make parts that that went into the military vehicles, the planes, the tanks, and shit like that. So they contributed in that aspect, but they were not on the front line getting shot at, putting their lives on the line. So when a lot of people got upset about Battlefield 5 not being historically accurate, and EA calling people uneducated and saying if you don't like it, don't buy the game, the thing that I said was, you basically biting the hand that feeds you. And this might sting some people, but I'm only saying this as an example. You do not open up a Chinese restaurant and most of the people that come there to eat are Chinese, and you say some fucked up shit about Chinese people. What do you think is going to happen to your damn restaurant? It's going to be empty the next morning. That's what happened to Battlefield 5. The majority of the user base for the Battlefield franchise were young males, in my opinion, from the age between 20 and 35. And when EA went off and called them undereducated and dared them not to buy the game if they don't like it, they responded exactly like that. They didn't buy the game, and within 2 weeks the game was like down to like $30, then down to $20 and shit like that. So in my opinion, EA should have just kept their mouth shut, because when you insult, the majority of your user base, you basically bit the hand that feeds you. So way off the tracks. Let's get back to this PSVR 2 thing. And I normally try to stay away from identity politics, agendas and what have you, but it's there, and it is what it is. So coming back to this PSVR thing, PSVR 2 thing, we've already established that I think, I don't know if we'll see Resident Evil at this showcase, but at this state of play, pricing is going to be a huge factor. J-Wags, if you would have said that last year, yes, I would agree with you 100%. But let's be honest, as of right now, Call of Duty is still the biggest franchise out there. At least until Microsoft get their grimy hands on it. I mean, but Activision is grimy too, so to me it's a match made in hell, along with Bethesda. Now, I can tell you right now, from the VR landscape right now, we already have a ton of first-person shooter games in VR. Most notably Pavlov and Contractors and Onward. And all three of those games allow modding, and the modding community has added Call of Duty maps to those games, and those maps are well received. They are pretty much the most played maps. Got to come in $350 tops. I'm talking price of PSVR 2. Yeah, I think it's gonna be $500. Because what I'm trying to say is, if it's true that Modern Warfare 2 is coming to PSVR 2 and it has an online mode, that's a wrap. People are going to be breaking their neck to get a PSVR 2. Because now the casuals don't. Yeah, $499.95 including tax. Like the casual flat screeners who love Call of Duty, they don't really, they're not really going to spend the money, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 for a PC to come on over and play Contractors and Pavlov, which are basically indie games in VR. They're great games, but they're still indie games. They're not going to spend that kind of money to play those kind of games. I mean, you could take the cheap route with the Oculus Quest, and you can still play all of those games on the Oculus Quest, but you're basically going to get PS2 looking graphics. Now, I think when PSVR 2 comes out, they're probably going to have the best looking games, because with the eye gazing, the foveated rendering, along with technologies like DLSS, and the headset rumored to have HDR, all those factors, PSVR 2 games are probably going to be the best looking games on the market. So if you make a Call of Duty game in VR that looks almost as good as the flat screen version of the game, and it's got multiplayer, it's a wrap. That's going to be a system seller. People are going to be breaking their necks to get PSVR 2, and I think the hardcore will pay the $500. The only bad thing I can say about that $500 price tag is that Sony does not lower their prices for quite a while. So if they introduce PSVR 2 at $500, expect that to be the price for about 2 years. Let's change scapes. Let's go to another car. Yeah, but how available is that PSVR 2 going to be? That's going to be the problem, because we got the chip shortage. And I'm going to say something that's going to be kind of... Let's change scapes. Now, here's the funny part. I'm hearing that Xbox Series X, despite everybody, GT7, it's not an Xbox game. Hey, Rinku. So get this. This is what I was about to say. You're asking about the availability of PSVR 2. Now, one of the reasons that it was rumored that the headset may not come out until next year is because Sony, I guess they don't have the amount of headsets they were hoping for the launch. Okay. Because of the chip shortage and that kind of shit. So the funny part is, every time I go into a Walmart or a Target and I see an Xbox Series X, which I've never seen one on the shelf before, but I have seen plenty of Xbox Series S's in cabinets. So every time I go to Walmart or Target and I see an Xbox Series S in the shelf, I look at it and say that could have been a PSVR 2 headset, because it would have been better served being a PSVR 2 headset, because nobody's going to buy this dog shit. I normally don't take sides and normally don't get caught up in this console war shit. But let's be real. People were shooting their mouths off about the Xbox outselling PS5 here in North America. But let's be honest. When both of these consoles both launched, we already knew that PS5 was going to be in high demand. And what I think Sony was trying, not Sony, but what I think Microsoft was trying to do, first of all, Microsoft was lying, and saying that, this is the best launch ever. And this game, Series X is already sold out and blah, 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 and all this shit. I think what they were trying to do was lying. They were trying to lie and say that the Xbox Series X was just as much in demand as the PS5. And what I think happened, the situation with the PS5 is real. The shit is hard to get. The situation with the Series X, what I think Microsoft was doing, originally, I thought that Microsoft knew that this console wasn't going to sell that well. So what they were going to do was manufacture the console on an as-needed basis. In my opinion, what they did was, I think they manufactured a shitload of those consoles, and they got them in a warehouse somewhere. And I think what they were originally doing was, every time somebody would get a stock of PS5s, Microsoft would release a stock of Series X's. That way, they know that the PS5 is going to sell out in 5 minutes. And what they can do is catch the leftovers. The people who didn't get a PS5, but they jonesed in and spend some money so they can get the latest hardware, would go off and buy an Xbox Series X. And I think that's where a huge chunk of the Series X sales came from, is that they caught the PlayStation leftovers, the people who weren't able to get a PS5. And now, with the rumors that Microsoft paid these chip suppliers for preferential treatment, that could also explain why you're seeing series consoles on shelves, but you still can't get a PS5, which, if that's the case, I give Microsoft credit. That was an ingenious move. But it's a move that, in my opinion, I said that stung right from the start, because I'm thinking to myself, for every Series X or Series S console that gets manufactured, that could possibly take away a PSVR 2 headset that won't get manufactured, and it would be a waste of materials, in my opinion. Because what is Microsoft giving people, in my opinion, that justifies spending $500 for that console? But at the same time, I will admit that I think the Series X gives you PC power without the PC price tag, as well as the PS5. Because I spent damn near $3,000 building one of my computers, and I spent about $1,800 building the other. So, said, you bit wrong. Series X not selling at all. It's the Series S that's selling more. I'm talking about the series consoles in general. I'm not necessarily saying that the Series X is selling. What I'm trying to say, the Series S or the Series X consoles, well, especially the Series X consoles, the ones that they have sold, I'm saying that I believe that they sold them because they caught the leftover PlayStation crowd, the people who wanted a PlayStation but couldn't get one, and settled for a Series X. I think that's how whatever amount of Series X's that they've sold, I think that's how they did it. And now, if it's true that Microsoft paid for preferential treatment with chip allocation, it was a smart move, an underhanded move, but a smart one. So I could be honest in that aspect. Give me a second, folks. I gotta grab a drink, and the old faucet is starting to drip, so I gotta blow the old schnozola. I'll be right back. Okay, I had to grab a drink. Excuse me, folks. Thank you for your patience. Excuse me. So let's keep pushing forward with games that we could see at this Thursday State of Play. This game here, I think we will see this game here, GT7, showcased at the State of Play. When this, excuse me, when the trailer was revealed for this game, some of us in the VR community had already seen Easter eggs within the trailer that, to me, that pretty much looked like VR gameplay. And Polyphony Digital has already been quoted as saying that VR was a focus for GT7. So as far as I'm concerned, the VR for this game was probably already finished a year ago as far as the bulk of it, and probably just needed to put the finishing touches on it. I think the VR is already done. I think the headset is already done. I think a lot of these games are already done. It's just a matter of when Sony decides to launch it. So Resident Evil 8, just remember, like ACC or any other racer, they took time to mature. GT7 is no different. True. And I have to be honest, PSVR 2 on this game with HDR, I think is going to be the best looking sim racer in VR, at least until Assetto Corsa 2 comes along. In the case of Assetto Corsa 2, Kunos, Marco Massarudo, the CEO of Kunos, had already said that with Assetto Corsa Competizione, they started out with their own engine, but because one person wrote most of the code by himself, he requested an engine that was basically universal to speed up the process, and they switched up and with Unreal Engine 4. And Marco Massarudo stated that the Unreal Engine 4 was it was basically a general engine that didn't have a lot of features, and it wasn't really good for VR optimization. And that's why you got what you get with ACC with the VR. For the most part, the VR is not that good, but I will go on to say that the more beefier your PC is, the better the game will look. So if you're running like a 1060 or some shit like that, the game is not going to look good in VR. It's going to look like absolute dog shit. But in my case, with the beast that I built, with a 3080 Ti, the i9 12900K, the game in VR now looks almost as good as Automobilista 2. Yes, I said that. The game looks great now, especially through this Oculus Quest 2. So, but when this game comes to PSVR 2, I do think it'll be the best looking game, because I think the HDR in that headset is going to be a game changer. Because not only does HDR separate the colors, in my opinion, I think it presents a sharper image. So that's going to be huge. I am a little bit disappointed that I don't think that ACC is going to get VR support on PS5. I was hoping that it would, but the developer responded to one of my questions during a super chat. I asked him if PS5 would get VR support for ACC, and he said no. He said too many resources. The game takes up too many resources, and the console's not strong enough to run that game in VR. So I was a little bit disappointed. And I would probably say the telltale sign that Assetto Corsa Competizione wasn't going to get VR support for PS5 is the fact that that game has 30-player lobbies, and whereas GT7 has 20-player lobbies. I think a lot of people have complained that GT7 has 20-player lobbies, and I've been trying to tell these people they don't understand that shit, that I think the reason why Polyphony Digital went with 20-player lobbies for GT7 was so they can save some of the console's resources to be able to run VR. Because if they create a game that's got a 30, 40, 50-player lobby, there's no way that this console would be able to do all that shit and do it in VR. It would be an absolute mess. That's why they did things the way they did with GT Sport. They said if they would have tried to make multiplayer and shit like that, they said it would have been a mess. And that's why we got what we got with GT Sport in VR. So, example, 120. Let me go back to a couple of your comments. It seems Kazunori Yamauchi is listening to the community. The only way GT7 gets VR is if Sony allows it. Being also a PS4 game also. You know how Sony feels about mismatched features. 120 hertz gameplay. PS5 can run GT7 120 hertz, but it's only 60 thanks to the PS4 version. Remember, they did say we believe in generations. And I do think that Jim Ryan, I think he originally meant that when he said it. Because they said that they wanted people to transition over to the PS5 as quickly as possible. Because I really do believe that Sony really wanted to leave the PS4 behind. But I think high demand of this console and low supply, along with the problems that COVID and the chip shortages has been causing, I think it forced them to change their hand and had to start including some of these games on the PS4 that was meant to be PS5 games. Now, I'm telling you right now, when PSVR 2 comes out and this game gets VR support, it will not get VR support on the current PS5 on the current PSVR, because if GT Sport can only run VR with one-on-one versus the AI or just time trials, there's no way that they would be able to do that on the PS4 with this game that looks much better and probably much more demanding. And then assuming that this game gets VR, you're going to be able to race against a full grid online. There's no way, they would be able to do that on the PS4 with the current PSVR. So I think that when PSVR 2 comes along and this game gets VR support, it's only going to be on the PS5. It is not going to be on the PS4 or the PS4 Pro. I think the PS4 might be the PS4 Pro. I think is capable of doing it, although it would look like dog shit. But this last generation with the PS4 and PS4 Pro, Sony mandated that any game that's developed for the PS4 Pro, the PS4 must be included in that development cycle. That being said, from what I understand, GT Sport, they had already had that multiplayer running on the PS4 Pro. But if they would have released it like that, it would have separated the communities, because the PS4 wouldn't have been able to do it, but the PS4 Pro can do it. It would have separated the communities, probably would have caused some outrage, probably would have caused a big mess. And I think that's why they did it the way they did. But I think this situation here, with Sony basically getting ready to go all in on VR, they cannot give this game support on the PS4 because it will be a mess. And we would have that situation happen that I was just talking about, where it would separate the communities, where you could play the full version of this game in VR on PS5, but you only get bits and pieces of it on the PS4. They can't do that. So the big question with this game is getting VR support. Are you going to be able to race with flat screen gamers like you can on PC? Like the PC games that have VR support, like I said, of course, the Competizione, I'm racing in VR against flat screeners and other people who are in VR. I don't know if that's going to be the case with this game. I don't know if they're going to separate people or not. I don't know if they're going to separate the VR racers from the flat screeners. So that remains to be seen, but there's no doubt in my mind that this game is going to get VR support, and I do believe that there's a strong possibility this will be one of the games that's going to be featured at State of Play this coming Thursday. Being it on PS5 might not be beholden to PS4. That's possible, but look at the fact that 120 Hz is not available for PS5 version now. Well, I will say that with VR support, it's definitely going to run at least 90 hertz. I think it's going to run at 90 hertz minimum. So we'll see how this all plays out when it actually releases. So moving on to what else that I think will be coming to this state of play. Something else that I think we could see, Half-Life Alyx. We do know that, yes, and I'm going to use this word, flat screeners were livid. I didn't know that the Half-Life franchise was as big as it was. And when Half-Life Alyx was announced, and they found out that it was a VR-only game, a lot of people was upset. That means if you wanted to play the game, if you didn't have a PC, you were going to have to go spend at least $1,000 on a PC and probably have to spend a minimum of $400 for a headset, that being the Oculus Rift S, unless you wanted to spend $1,000 for the Valve Index. And then there was also like the HP Reverb, and the HP Reverb G2 out there, which those headsets launched at about $600. And I think in so many words, the developers of Half-Life Alyx had said something to the effect that that they could see something like Half-Life Alyx coming to PSVR 2. So I think it's a given that Half-Life Alyx is going to come to PSVR 2. And in my opinion, you guys are going to get a treat. That game comes to PSVR 2. That is an excellent game. I have not finished it. I got about 75% of the way through the game, but one of the big reasons why I did not finish the game is because I'm a content creator. And at the time that I was playing Half-Life Alyx, I was one of those YouTubers that was trying to keep up with the latest VR games because I was trying to do my part to help bring VR to the mainstream. So I would play Half-Life Alyx for about a week, and then when the next big VR release comes along, that's what I'm playing because I was trying to keep up with the games. I was trying to keep up with the other VR YouTubers. But I'm definitely going to go back and finish it. Rinku, OLED display with HDR is going to be fire. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think that PSVR 2 is going to have the best looking games as far as the platform goes. Now, there are other headsets out there like the Pimax and that kind of stuff. I think the Pico Neo 3 is either just came out or is coming out. There's the Varjo or something like that. There's a lot of high-end headsets out there right now that already do 4K, and I think some of them already do HDR. But PSVR 2 is going to be the one to be able to do all that that's affordable. Because I think that Varejo that I speak of, that's a 4K headset, I think that might do HDR, and I think that headset costs about $1,400. What you got for me, Jay Wags? You said you got a question. What you got? Rinku, you said, let me see here. Tantrum, you said people still complain. Mods. I never touched any mods for Half-Life Alyx, so I don't care about it. Hey, you know what? Those mods for Half-Life Alyx, I have to urge you to go in and try some of those mods because they're using the same assets from the game. So these mods have great graphics. They had a John Wick style mod in there where I think you're like a contract killer, where you have to go inside and you go to this desk and you end up killing the security guard working at desk, and it set off like a it just set off a bunch of security coming after you trying to kill you. And then they also have like a BioShock mode in there where you're in Rapture or whatever that place is called, and you're shooting at some of the Combine soldiers. So some of those VR mods, you got to check them out. Give it a try. There's a little bit of a workaround to set it up, but the developers allowed the mods, so they want that in there. Let me see. You said there are games that could do Rinku. You said there are games that could do 60, 120 on PS5, even though the PS4 or Xbox One had 30 frames. That's part of the reason why there's going to be a separation when PSVR 2 comes along. A lot of these games you are not going to see on the PS4 and on the current PSVR unless the developer makes a separate version for the current PSVR. And it makes no sense for them to do it. Like, for instance, what's the game? You know what? A good chunk of these games that you're going to see for this state of play, it's not going to be possible for these games to come to the PS4 anyway because the console's too weak. The hardware is too weak to run these games. I don't think people understand just how much VR taxes hardware. I had to build a $3,000 computer to be able to run just about any VR game in my library, because there are some really demanding games out there. And then with these VR mods, you have to have a very beefy computer to run some of these mods to make them look right, because the game is basically is rendering the game twice. It's rendering the flat screen version of the game as well as the VR mod. So it taxes the shit out of your PC. So some of these VR mods, you need a really beefy PC. All that being said, there's no damn way. And Sony's talking about hybrid games. That's what they're talking about. We're already doing on PC VR. They're talking about a lot of these games being flat version and VR version. So I think Sony, their technology is going to be such where they figured it out, where the game won't have to, where the console won't have to run the game twice. Matter of fact, it's rumored that with these hybrid games, the PS5 will give you an option whether to download the flat screen version of the game or the VR version of the game. So Sony, that part, they will have figured that out, where these hybrid games won't render twice on the console, because if it does, it's going to look like dog shit and it's going to run like dog shit. J-Wags, what do you think about PSVR 2 being compatible with PC as well? Thoughts? That rumor has been out there too about PSVR 2, the headset itself coming to PC. I say that that's a possibility because of the chip shortage. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there, because let's be real. Although I'm glad PSVR 2, we finally about to get these goddamn games, and I'm interested in but I'm not excited the way I should be, because this shit is taking too damn long, and we already got a lot of the shit that you're going to be seeing for PSVR 2. We already have it on PC. Now, the reason why I think it's possible that the PSVR 2 headset could come to PC is because of the chip shortage. There's going to be a lot of people, in my opinion, that have a gaming PC capable of running VR, and they already have VR headsets. They are going to want a PSVR 2, but they may not have a PS5, because the PS5 is going to be your admission through the door. There's no point in even thinking about getting a PSVR 2 if you don't have the PS5. And the console is hard to get, and Sony is supposed to be trying to make moves to mitigate that. That being said, I think it is possible that the PSVR 2 headset could come to PC somewhere down the line to offset the chip shortage. Because, like, let's say I don't have a PS5, but they allow the headset to come to PC. I can buy the headset and don't have to break my neck going through all this bullshit to get a PS5. The question is, if they did that, how would they go about releasing games? We know third-party games would come to PSVR, would come to PS5 and PC day and date. But what about the Sony exclusives? What about Horizon Call of the Mountain? That naturally is probably going to come to PSVR 2 first. And maybe it could come to PSVR 2. It could come to PSVR a year later. Who knows? So, but yes, that is definitely a valid question, J-Wags. Do you think their PSVR games will come to PC, though? If they did make it able to work on PC, they'll be able to make it work on PC, especially for people like me. Because my computer is way more powerful than the PS5. Let's get one thing straight about this 120 hertz shit and stuff like that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X supposedly can do. It's with games that are super old or games that are not demanding. You are not going to run a game like Cyberpunk on the PS5 or the Series X at 120 frames per second. It just won't happen. Because as it stands, I've seen these benchmark videos for Cyberpunk, and you have computers that have a 3090 with the same kind of CPU that I have, the i9 12900K, and they're only able to get this game to run at like 70 frames per second, native 4K with ray tracing on, and with HDR. I've already benchmarked my PC because Cyberpunk has, benchmarking tools within the game. And I did a benchmark during a live stream, and I think I was getting roughly between 55 and like 70 frames per second in 4K with HDR, but I don't know if I can't remember if I had the ray tracing turned on at the time. 55 to 70 frames, and I got a 3080 Ti. That being said, any game that runs on PSVR 2, my PC will be able to run this shit without breaking a sweat. So yes, I'm talking some PC master race shit. Again, I spent almost $3,000 building the PC that I built. Honestly, I thought I was going to stop with that 3080 Ti, but I hate to say it, I'm already contemplating getting a 4080 Ti. I know I won't be able to get one at launch because the scalpers are going to get them. So it'll probably be like a year or something like that. But yeah, I'm strongly considering getting a 4080 Ti when it comes out. That's the thing. PC is very expensive. I got to back up to a couple of your comments, Tantrum. I want to drive on these skate roads. Common digital polyphony. That is why we have a set of Corsa track mods. Yeah, definitely. Like, the Assetto Corsa mods are a lifesaver. Because of the Assetto Corsa mods, I can drive any car I want, on any track I want, on a full grid, and I can do it in VR. That's why I did that stream a couple of weeks ago, saying that we don't, as far as racing goes, we don't have to wait for PSVR 2. We don't have to wait for this game to come to PSVR 2. We have the Assetto Corsa mods. And even though that's an old game, a lot of those, the car models still look good. They still stand the test of time. And for the most part, the environments still look decent too. So that being said, no, I didn't have to wait. Next comment, Tantrum, you said, if PSVR 2 comes to PC and their games come to PC, then what makes Sony different than Microsoft? Hey, if you've been watching some of these podcasts lately, a lot of people have already been pointing out that they're starting to wonder what Sony is doing. Are they starting to move in that direction where some of their games could eventually come to PC day and date? Sony has already said that by 2025, half of their annual releases will come to PC. That means some of what I'm taking that as is that some of their games will come to PC day and date. So by 2025, depending on what kind of games you like to play, you will not need a PS5 or a Xbox Series X. A PC will be all you need. Now, people talk about how expensive PC is, but stop and think about it. Chris Tedder, what's good? How you doing? Let's say that both PS5 and Xbox, let's say both of their games come to PC day and date. If that happens, then a PC makes the most economical sense. You spend $1,000 and you buy a PC. Whereas if Microsoft and Sony separated their games and only kept those games on their own platforms, you would need to spend $500 for a PS5 and you would need to spend $500 for an Xbox Series X. That's $1,000. And then you would still need to pay for the service, for the subscriptions. You would still need to pay $60 a year for PlayStation Plus, and you would still need to pay $60 a year for Xbox Live, assuming that they still have 1 year subscriptions, which Microsoft has been moving around trying to make it so you spend more money. That being said, if PS5 games and Xbox games come to PC day and date, PC makes the most economical sense because you have one device that you'll be able to play both of those games on, and it will be more powerful than both of those consoles. You will get the best version of all of those games. So Jay Wags, if they bring their games to PC, then they are making the games. Nintendo needs to do the same. I know dudes still rocking 1060s. They are happy running these new games at 1080p 60 frames per second. They can upgrade when they choose. True. And that being said, I'm not buying a PS5 Pro. You know, now, a lot of people have been saying that how are you going to make a PS5 Pro when it's already hard as hell to get a PS5? That being said, if you do not have a PS5 and they come out with a PS5 Pro, to me it doesn't. I agree with the sentiment that it doesn't make sense to try to get a PS5 when you can just wait and get a PS5 Pro. I am not buying a PS5 Pro because the situation with the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, in my opinion, is despicable. You have a PS4 that has 1.8 teraflops of power, and you have a PS4 Pro that has 4.2 teraflops of power, that is capable of doing way more than the PS4, but the PS4 held back the PS4 Pro. All we got from the PS4 Pro was slightly better visuals. We did not get better frame rates, and we didn't get more features because Sony mandated that anything that gets developed for the PS4 Pro, the PS4 has to be included in it. I'm not about to spend money for a PS5 Pro only for the same shit that happened all over again. I'm not going to spend money for a PS5 Pro that could be rumored to have 13, 14, 15 teraflops of power, and we don't get to take advantage, and we can't take advantage of that power because Sony will tell developers that anything you develop for the PS5 Pro, the PS5 must be included in it, and possibly the PS4, since they're still doing this cross-gen shit. So in my opinion, if you already have a PS5, getting a PS5 Pro would be a waste of money. If you have a PS5 and you were thinking about getting a PS5 Pro, for what a PS5 Pro is going to cost, I think that money would be better served putting it towards a PC if you don't already have one. Chris Tedder, you said PC is definitely the right direction once you get over the pain for the actual PC. And then here's look. Here's the other thing. Okay, look. Let's say you got a PS5. You spent $500 for the PS5. Let's say you also got an Xbox Series X. You paid $500 for the Series X. That's $1,000. And then you're still paying $120 a year for their subscriptions. $60 for PS Plus, $60 for Xbox Live. You spent $1,000 on those two consoles, and then you're adding $120 a year for the subscriptions. So if you're going to play both of those platforms, how is that cheaper than getting a PC? Now, if you own a PC, the majority of those games, the majority of the games between both of those consoles, minus the Sony exclusives, are going to be on PC. And with a PC, you will have the best version of those games, and you will not have to pay to play online. Because there is no Xbox Live and there is no PlayStation Plus on PC. And not only that, the prices of games fall faster on PC. And not only that, you have multiple outlets to get these games cheaper on PC. You have Hubble Bubble, you have CD Keys, you have G2A. There are games on the PlayStation Store and the Xbox Store that still cost $50, $60, but I can go to G2A and buy one of those games for $20. I did it with Resident Evil Village. That game is still $50, I believe, on PlayStation. I believe it's still $50, $60. I bought that shit for $18 on G2A, and I'm playing it in VR. And I'm getting the best version of the game, being that I'm playing on PC. If you want to get a PS5, I think that makes sense because Sony does have exclusives. And Sony right now still gives you a reason to buy the PS5. Unless you simply feel like you cannot afford a PC, I think it makes no sense to buy an Xbox Series X. Even if you can't afford a PC, I think it makes no sense. The only reason, in my opinion, that it would make sense to buy an Xbox Series X is if you are worried that when the contract is up between Activision and Sony, if you're worried about Call of Duty being exclusive on the Xbox, that would be, in my opinion, the only reason to get a Series X. Let me back up, boy, some of these comments. Because you guys are coming in. Now you guys have gotten to the point where I can't keep up with the comments. Hey, that's cool, though. Let me see. Tantrum, backing up. You said, in all honesty, I would rather upgrade my PC before I buy a console. Hey, Tantrum, it's funny that you say that because this PC I got right here already has a 3080 Ti in it. My other PC that I built in the back, it has a 2070 in it. But I've been searching for a 3070 on eBay. Now, just out of the wild blue, I checked out the Best Buy website, and they actually had a 3080 Ti available. I almost jumped in my car and drove to Best Buy, and I almost bought that 3080 Ti. But the reason I didn't is because that other PC that I got in the other room, if I got a 3080 Ti, in my opinion, for that PC, I would need to go out and buy a water cooler, and I would need to buy a more powerful power supply, because that PC in there has a 700-watt power supply in it. This PC right here that I built has a 1,000-watt power supply in it, and it has a water cooler. And if you include the fans that are in the GPU, the power supply, and the water cooler, this PC has a total of 14 fans. So, but yeah, I mean, almost pulled the trigger on that 3080 Ti. Chris Tedder, you can get such good deals on finance. Granted, it isn't for everyone, and not everyone can afford it. But if you can, once you own a PC, is far superior. No question about that. Jay Wags, crazy. We're talking about a PS5 Pro when we ain't even got a PS5 and the Slim in the pipeline. Even if they came out with a PS5, I don't see any point in getting it. If you already have a PS5, I don't see any point in getting a PS5 Slim, unless you're just one of those people that want the latest hardware. It doesn't make sense to me. I did that once with the PS3. The only reason I bought the PS3 Slim, because I originally bought that PS3 that looked like the George Foreman grill, and it only had a 40 gig hard drive. When the PS3 Slim came out, I bought the one that had the 80 gig hard drive. That made sense, to buy that for the extra storage. I didn't buy it because it was a Slim. I bought it for the extra storage. Monitors are pretty cheap right now. The 1080p monitors are cheap. The 1440, like 240 hertz monitors, yeah, those still cost a pretty penny. And the 4K monitors still cost the arm and a leg. So, woo. Jay Wags, you also said the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X was the worst. Chris Tedder, don't know how Sony could talk about new console when delivered to the current demand. Just be more scalpers buying them all. That would be true. Tantrum, you were talking to Jay Wags. People talking about a Pro because the PS5 can't run many of their games at 4K, 120 frames per second. Jay Wags, okay, the one where you tag Chris Tedder, I'll let that one go. Let's see here. If you do try to play at 120 frames per second, the PS5 takes a graphics hit. With the Pro, that may change. That would be true. But, I mean, how many of these next-gen games are going to be able to run at 120 frames per second on this console? Hold on, you said, let me hold on. What you saying here, Jay Wags? Said, I don't know, bro. I'm seeing 240 hertz monitors at Walmart for like 300. 1080p, I guess, though. Yeah, they have to be 1080p monitors. Case in point, I was at Best Buy about a month ago, and they had a 75 hertz monitor that was like, it was on sale for like, I think like $100. And see, where they tricked you is the box didn't say what the resolution was. I was turning the box all over the place and couldn't find what the resolution was. I ended up having to get one of the salesmen to look it up, and they ended up finding out that it's a 1080p monitor. Jay Fields, what's good? You said, wait for your comment to come through over here, because I missed it on the TV. So going on to some other comments. Chris Tedder, you said, I found the next-gen consoles a prime time to move to PC. Was going to go PS5 and decided to put that towards PC instead. I think that was the smart move. I think that by not getting a PS5, at least at the moment, the only thing you're really going to be missing out on are the PS5 exclusives. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be some third-party shit on PSVR 2 that Sony's going to pay for the exclusivity. So, like, for instance, you know, that rumored Modern Warfare 2 coming to PSVR 2 is that's probably going to be the only place where you're going to be able to play it in VR. The question is, will it be a timed exclusive? Jay Fields, your comment did not come through. I saw it up there on the screen, but I couldn't get to it in time. Because the one bad thing about the PS5 is if you write a really long comment, the PS5 does not display the entire comment. So I have to look on my phone to see the entire comment if somebody wrote a really long comment. So, Tantrum, you said the reason why I never bought a monitor is they are too small and a good 120 hertz TV right now is too expensive for me. True. And let's see here. Tantrum, you said what I'm hearing is 120 hertz is good for most people. Anything higher is for those who take their gaming seriously. Otherwise, most people barely notice. Diminishing returns. I agree, because from what I understand, the human eye can't see faster than 60 frames per second anyway. So who the hell gonna be able to look at a game and say, yeah, that's running around 240 frames per second? Yeah. In my expert opinion, yeah, that game's running at about 240 frames per second. This game over here, 120 frames per second? Nah, too slow for me. I'm not getting it. Get out of here. And for anybody who like to use that console war shit, I don't know if Sony or either Microsoft has claimed that any games can run 240 frames per second on these consoles, but if they do, it's gonna be fucking Minecraft. So don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in any of that bullshit. Don't get caught up in any of that hype console war bullshit. Let's see here. Jay Wags, you got a 120 hertz 1440p monitor 2 years ago for $600. I'm a wait on a 4K. Hey, wait till I tell you about in the other room on my other PC. Let me catch up to this last comment first. Tantrum, you said what they say is that the super high refresh rate is something you can't see. You can't see, but it is what you can feel. That's why like 1440 to 240 hertz monitors. You know what? Oh shit, we about to go into rest mode here. Okay. Sorry about that, folks, but the PS5 was about to go into rest mode and it would have cut this stream off, so I had to make sure. So if this console ends up going into rest mode and this stream gets cut off, it'll take a few minutes, but I'll just fire it back up. And time wise, it is 2:42 in the morning here in Michigan, Eastern time. For those of you that's still up in the middle of the night joining me, thank you. My friends over in the UK, I already knew you guys would be awake because you guys are 5 hours ahead of us. And so, anyway, what I was going to say about my monitor in there is I can't believe this. This is crazy. My PC in there, the monitor is a 1080p monitor, 60 hertz. At the time that I bought it, the PC that I bought it for was basically an office PC because I was backing up my movies, if you know what I mean. So I needed a PC where I could make backups of my movies, if you know what I mean. So at the time that I bought that PC, I was like, hell, let me get a new monitor. And it was an all branded shit from from Walmart. I think the brand was like AOU or AOI, some crazy shit like that. So I bought the monitor. At the time that I bought the monitor, I think I bought it for like $120. The crazy part about it is it's a 1080p 60 hertz monitor. And when I built Voltron Jr. and I connected it to that monitor in there, I was playing Black Ops 2. And the shit looked gorgeous. I couldn't believe it on a 15-year-old monitor. I streamed it. So if you want to go through my library and see it for yourself. 1080p 60. It looked gorgeous. I couldn't believe my eyes. It made me feel like, eventually I'll get a 1440p monitor, but I'm not going to be going all out buying a 240 hertz monitor or something like that. Maybe a 1440p 120 hertz monitor, but for right now, that 1080p monitor, 60 frames in there, is getting the job done. And then my TV right here, I am on a 65-inch Hisense H9 60 hertz TV. So the majority of the games that I'm playing are not running past 60 frames per second anyway, because the TV can't display it any faster than that. That being said, with these consoles, everybody using that console war shit about 120 frames per second, damn all that shit. In my opinion, if these consoles can run games at 4K 60, that's good enough. That's all you need. If it can run it at a locked 60, that's great. If it runs it at an unlocked 60, like if the frames are unlocked, it really don't matter how many frames the PC can do. If the frames are unlocked and there's a big dip in the frames, you're going to see it. But hey, if you guys want me to throw some PC Master Race shit at y'all, I benchmarked Rainbow Six Siege on my PC here on Voltron. I benchmarked it at 1080p, and it did 770 something frames with a minimum of 315 frames, and it averaged out at like 440 frames per second. There's no way the PS5 or the Xbox Series X is going to be able to do that. Even on a game, even a game like Minecraft, it wouldn't be able to do that. If I upgrade my TV, it will be a new Hisense UAG. It's a 120 hertz TV with excellent local dimming and good HDR. Yeah. I don't have a problem admitting that I got a Hisense. At the time that I bought this Hisense H9, it was the top of the line model. In my opinion, it had a picture that was comparable to the Samsung Q6. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not getting crazy, because with the Q models, Samsung had the Q6, the Q7, the Q8, and the Q9. And the Q9 cost an arm and a leg. I think this Hisense H9 that I got at the time had a picture that was comparable to the Q6. That's just seeing it with my neck. That's just seeing it with the naked eye, because I was at Best Buy one time and they had this TV, and they also had all the Q models running the same shit. So I was able to look back and forth and see with my own eyes. And I felt like this Hisense H9 had a picture that was comparable to the Q6. The only reason why I haven't upgraded my TV, Tantrum, is because of VR. I was still primarily a flat screen gamer. Actually, I would have bought the LG by now. That super thin OLED TV, I would have bought one of those by now. Yeah, I would have spent the $2,000 and bought one of those TVs. Hell, this old ass H9 still looks gorgeous. Being that I'm primarily a VR gamer, I really don't see any point in buying another TV right now. You said, Tantrum, you said Hisense is no joke. Don't sleep on it if you're interested in a new TV. Absolutely. I think in terms of budget TVs, I think Hisense is one of the best brands you can buy. I think Hisense has, especially these U model TVs that just recently came out. I think that can get you some of the most gorgeous looking TVs if you're on a budget. I think it'll get you some of the best looking TVs without spending that Samsung or that Sony money. So the same way these consoles, the PS5 and the Series X, will get you PC performance without the PC money. So go figure. Yeah, your TV costs way more than you. You know what? You know the irony in that shit? I just thought about something. People talk about how much money you would have to spend on a PC that could do the same thing. Jay Fields, LG is the best. Samsung literally made me and my kids sick. Wow. It's funny how people talk about the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and they talk about how much money you would have to spend to build a PC that can do what those consoles do. And they only spent $500 for those consoles, but yet they got a $2,000 TV for those consoles. But yet I got a TV that costs half the money of their TVs. Well, at the time that I bought this TV, I spent I think $1,100 for it. Might have been $1,000. But yet my PC costs about 6 times more than the console. People buying 65, 75, 85 inch for their console gaming. So they talk about how expensive it is to buy a PC, but for the money they spent on they talk about how expensive a PC is, but for the money they spent on their TV, they could have built a PC that's way more powerful than their console. While I'm at it, let me give a shout out to Sick Humor. I've been watching this. I always watch his content. It's just that a lot of times I'm not there live because I watch a lot of his replays from work, so I could have something to listen to while I'm at work. But he acknowledged how, because of what Sony's doing, how they're starting to move a lot of the games over to PC, and how people are going to start making the jump to PC. He acknowledged how I was a person that didn't know shit about PCs. I was not a PC gamer, that I was primarily a console gamer, and how I made the jump over to PC. And he thinks a lot of people are going to be doing that. A lot of people are going to start building PCs if Sony continues to move in this direction and start moving a lot of their games over to PC. So big shout out to Sick. And also give a shout out to the round table. I always got to acknowledge my boys over there. Shout out to the round table. Tantrum, people, let's see here. Tantrum, $2,000 can get you a really nice PC. Yeah. I'm not gonna mention no names, but a couple of my YouTube friends got 8K TVs. Which is cool. But one of my friends that has an 8K TV has a very lucrative career, and he has all the toys. Um, and I believe he even has a Lamborghini in real life. So he has all the toys. So I'd imagine that 8K TV was nothing but a drop in the bucket for him. So you know who you are. Shout out to you. So the last thing with PSVR 2 that I mentioned that I think could come to PSVR 2 was Half-Life Alyx. Some other games that I do think will come to PSVR 2, but I'm not sure you'll see them at this showcase, is Lone Echo 1 and Lone Echo 2. These are Oculus exclusives, Facebook exclusives, Meta, whatever they call themselves these days. Those IPs belong to them. Those are two great games, and at the time, arguably one of the best looking games I've ever seen in VR. Lone Echo 1 was a masterpiece. Lone Echo 2, the story is a great story. Now, they had some development problems with that game. It got delayed several times. Honestly, what I think would happen with that game is that maybe Oculus started shifting focus and money into the Quest, and I think it shows with Lone Echo 2. There are parts of that game that looks absolutely gorgeous, and there are parts of that game where I'm like, yo, they should have delayed this game and fixed that shit. But I do think you could see Lone Echo 1 and 2 come to PlayStation VR. Even though those games are Oculus exclusives, they're single-player campaigns, basically one and dones. And those games are just sitting on the shelf right now. Those games can get a second life on PSVR 2, and Oculus can make a few more bucks off of it. So I expect to see that come to PSVR 2. We know Lo-Fi is coming to PSVR 2. The developer has already confirmed it. And Lo-Fi is basically Cyberpunk in VR. I think it was originally supposed to come to PC last year or something, but it's still in development. Guy had a Kickstarter to get the project going. And as part of the Kickstarter, you'll get the full version of the game when it releases. And for those in the Kickstarter, they have access to the game right now. I've seen a couple of, pieces of it. It looks gorgeous. So that's going to be coming to PlayStation VR 2. So the Bravia Master Z. Let's see what you said here. And let's change scapes. Let's change cars. I know some of you casuals probably like the road cars, so let's put the road cars here. Put this Stang on here. This was the Stang that I kitted this car out. I put a wide body kit on it, wheels, all that good shit. So let's check it out. It's a beast. Sony Bravia Z9G 98 class HDR 8K for a low price of $74,000. It would take me about a year and a half to make that. And that's gross. That's gross pay with me not eating for a year and a half. If me not paying any bills for a year and a half. So you just had a heart attack. Yeah, damn right I did. Um, so what else do I think is going to come to PSVR 2? So we talked about Resident Evil Village, Half-Life Alyx, GT7, Lone Echo 1 and 2, Modern Warfare 2. We talked about that. And while we're on the subject of Modern Warfare 2 coming to PlayStation VR. What's up, Frank? That's Modern Warfare 2 in VR on PSVR 2. As I said, that's a wrap. That's going to be a system seller. Sony can price that headset at $500 and people are still going to buy it. That being said, if Modern Warfare 2 on PSVR 2 blows up like gangbusters, expect EA to get involved and expect Battlefield to get VR support. They'll probably do the same thing. Fortnite in VR will get people's attention. That's another thing. Fortnite in VR is another thing that I think is going to come to PlayStation VR 2. Because Population 1 over on PC and the Oculus Quest is basically Fortnite in VR. And the game is doing pretty good. It's like, over in VR, if there's a certain game you're looking for that mimics the flat screen version of the game, people will say, hey, this is what you play. So, for instance, if somebody were to come to me and say, I want to play a Call of Duty type game in VR, what do you recommend? I'm going to tell them Contractors. People come to me and say, I want to play a racing game in VR. What do you recommend? And I would tell them it all depends on whether you're a hardcore racer or whether you're a casual. I would tell them that if you're hardcore, go with a set of Corsa Competizione. And I would tell them that if you're a casual, go with games like Project Cars 3. And then when it comes to the Battle Royale games, if somebody were to come to me and say, I want to play a Fortnite type game in VR, what would you recommend? I would tell them Population 1. Now, it is also, I guess it is not a rumor, I guess it is a fact that I guess Epic, remember when the whole crossplay thing was going on, when Microsoft orchestrated a smear campaign against Sony for not doing crossplay. Mr. Big Daddy Phil Spencer himself went out of his way to smear Sony for not doing crossplay. And Sony, in my opinion, gave into it. So they gave you conditional crossplay. From what I had heard, Epic didn't want to do the crossplay. And they offered, I guess, like they offered Sony to do a VR exclusive for them on PlayStation VR in order for them not to make Fortnite crossplay. Not only that, Epic is familiar with VR. One of the launch titles on the Oculus platform is called Robo Recall. That game was developed by Epic. So they have experience with VR. And Fortnite is arguably the most popular free-to-play game out there. And they're always looking for ways to expand the game and make more money off of it. These last couple of years, they've been using celebrities and Marvel characters and stuff like that to expand on Fortnite. And Fortnite is not a demanding game. So there's no doubt in my mind that they could put Fortnite on PSVR 2 and they would not have to compromise the graphics. The graphics would not have to take a hit because the console should be able to easily run that game in VR. The only difference is they may have to create a separate version of the game because I think currently, Unreal Engine 5 is VR capable too. Yeah, I think that's something that Epic definitely wanted to make sure. But one of the reasons I think they made sure that the Unreal Engine 5 has good VR capabilities is because of Sony's partnership with them and the stake that they own in Epic. Because I do believe for a lot of these PSVR 2 titles that could be PSVR 2 exclusives, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to run on the Unreal 5 engine. So coming back to the Fortnite thing, I do believe currently Fortnite is a 100-player battle royale game. Even with the cartoon graphics, I am not sure that the PS5 and PSVR 2 would be able to handle a 100-player battle royale game in VR. What I could possibly see happening is that they do the same thing like they may possibly do with the Modern Warfare VR mode, is break off with a separate VR mode for those who want to play it in VR, where maybe it's a 30 or 40-player battle royale. That I could see happening. So yeah. But Jada, what's good? What else do I think could come to PSVR 2? Glad to catch a stream. Yeah, I'm not, for the most part, I'm not really racing. I'm just talking about the state of play that's going to be coming up this Thursday. We also have the Unity engine true. The big reason why I'm showing you guys GT7, I'm just using it as a background. Man, when a subscription service comes out, yeah. I'm not about this subscription services stuff, but if they put a huge library of VR games into the subscription service, then it might be worth me looking into. Excuse me. Now there is one game coming to PlayStation VR 2 that I'm really concerned about. I never bought PS Now. I did a trial on it, but I never bought it. And when I did a trial, it was strictly streaming. You couldn't download any games. And I tried to play Mortal Kombat on it, and it was horrible. Mostly because of my my internet speed. I think at the time I was playing it on AT&T's DSL internet, and I was getting like 6 megs down and 1 up. So it was horrible. But streaming has come a lot further now than it was then. All right, let's change cars. Yeah, I don't want to do one of these little shit boxes. Let's do this. Now, it will be cool to drive this car in VR. It's going to be pretty slick to drive this car in VR. This car was unveiled. They unveiled a real life engine, a real life version of this car on Gran Turismo TV when they had one of their tournaments. I don't know, like 6 months ago or something like that. Will PSVR 2 be backwards compatible? I will say, for the most part, no. Actually, I hope it's not backwards compatible, because I don't want this console using any more resources than it has to just to appease a small crowd. So I can't say for certain whether PSVR 2 would be. You know what? Now that I stop and think about it, I got to go back and say something that I said before. And I hope you don't fall into this category. What we might see is many popular PSVR games get a remake. That is something that we could see. Anybody, in my opinion, and I hope you don't fall into this category, Jay Fields. And I'm not trying to include you in this category. But anybody who is talking about getting a PSVR 2 and say that they want backwards compatibility and they do not own the current PSVR is full of shit. I say that because anybody, if you're worried about if you're talking about getting PSVR 2 and you want backwards compatibility with the current PSVR games, then why don't you have the current headset now? Vegeta, you said, I don't think PSVR 2 will be worth it for me. Not enough games. PSVR 2, in my opinion, is going to have a blockbuster launch. Because one of the other games that I forgot to mention that I think is going to be, could be shown at this showcase is Grand Theft Auto 5 in VR. Epic knows that they can make a ton of money off of this game in VR. And they won't have to release Grand Theft Auto 6 for quite a while if they bring Grand Theft Auto 5 to PlayStation VR. But let me get to your question first. Let me get to your response first. It's going to have 20 games at launch. And we probably talking like 20 blockbuster games. Not 20 indie bullshit games. We talking like 20 blockbuster games. Over time, that library is going to grow. What people don't know about the current PSVR right now is that there's hundreds of games in that store right now. Trust me, Vegeta, there are a bunch of developers right now that have stopped development on the current PSVR just so they can shift their focus over to PSVR 2. They're going to start with they're probably going to start out with 20 games, but I think within a year they're going to have easily like 150 200 games like within a year, if not sooner. So I know something about I do know something about something that's in development for PSVR 2. This I do know because I found out firsthand, and that's all I can tell you. But yeah, a lot of devs have shifted their focus over to PSVR 2. It won't be long before you get a ton of games on there. And besides, I say this. When PSVR 2 launches, if you have games like Grand Theft Auto 5, Modern Warfare 2, Half-Life Alyx, if you have those games, those three games, in my opinion, are probably going to be enough to. And then this game in VR, So we're talking about four blockbuster games off the top of my head. Those 4 games right there might be enough to keep the average person busy. I can tell you right now, Vegeta, between the games I have on the current PSVR, the games that I have on my Oculus Quest standalone, and the VR games that I have on PC, I have hundreds of games, and there's no way I have enough time to play those games. My backlog is just, there's just some games that I really don't know if I'll ever get to them again. Especially with me putting in as much time. Google Earth VR, whether we see that on PlayStation VR or not, in my opinion, all depends on what kind of relationship Sony has with Google. Did you get scared in Resident Evil? When I played Resident Evil 7 on the PlayStation VR, it was all new to me. So yeah, it scared the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Horror games are where VR, in my opinion, horror games and racing games is where VR shines the most. Horror games, the shit is just too real, especially these jump scares. Resident Evil in VR scared the shit out of me. Five Nights at Freddy's in VR scared the shit out of me. There's a game currently on the PlayStation VR that I have called Weeping Dolls, and that game was really fucking with me. I'm going through this house, and I'm hearing all kinds of noises. You know, glasses banging together as if somebody's making a toast, chains dangling, doors closing. You know those little dolls with the pull string and you let it go and it says something? I'm hearing shit like that in the house, and it scared the shit out of me. I couldn't go on. Now, when I did that Resident Evil stream, that Resident Evil Village stream last week where I was playing Resident Evil Village in VR on PC, that didn't really scare me, but it did make me a little bit motion sick because there was some action sequences in the game where I could not control what was going on. It was almost like a cutscene, and I couldn't control where my head was looking. So that made me a little bit motion sick. But other than that, it was cool. So I've been in VR long enough that some horror games won't scare me. Some of them still will. Some of them will still scare me. What do we got here for comments? Let me get caught up. Do I get headaches? It depends on the game. Because if the game, it depends on the game. I've gotten motion sick on some games before. I've gotten headaches before, but whenever I've gotten headaches on VR games, it's when the game was like terribly optimized and I wasn't getting good frame rates. So if I was playing a VR game where the frame rates was dropping all the way down to like 25 frames per second, some shit like that, yeah, I was getting headaches from that. But if the game ran over 60 frames per second, if you play GT7 at a set of Corsa, that's fast movement. Far Cry 6 had me sick as fuck. How you get sick off of a flat screen game? VR is one thing because you actually in there, but how you get sick off of a flat screen game? Vegeta, you said like you play GT7 at a set of Corsa, that's fast movement. I'm not gonna lie. The first racing game I ever played in VR was Drive Club. That made me sick, not because of the VR itself. It was the first time I experienced actually sitting in a car and moving at 200 miles an hour. I'm seeing all these buildings, you know, and it was a little bit blurry, but I'm seeing all these buildings coming at me so goddamn fast. And I'm looking out the side of the window and these buildings is just flying right by. And then I smacked the wall at 200 miles an hour. And all I could think about is if that would have been real, I would have been dead instantly. So that took some getting used to. I'm inside this headset, and I'm seeing that I'm moving 200 miles an hour, but I'm still sitting in my chair, and I know I'm not moving 200 miles an hour, so it was fucking with me, and that's like, and that's part of the reason why I had got motion sick with Drive Club. But once I got used to that shit, it's nothing. You know, when I play a set of Corsa Competizione on a straightaway, I'm in VR, and on a straightaway, depending on the track, I'm moving anywhere from 150 to 170 miles an hour. But it don't seem like it until you spin out. You don't realize how fast you're moving in those cars until you lose control of one of them. Then everything starts spinning around and getting blurry and shit like that. But I love it. Do cords annoy you with PSVR? The original PSVR, the cord was pretty thick and it was heavy. With the latest iteration of the current PSVR, the cord was thinner and it was only one cord. So only games where you spinning around and moving around and shit like that a lot. Only the cords bother me. But here is one of the beautiful things about PC VR. I can play my PC games wirelessly. There's an app called Virtual Desktop. And basically what it is doing is the games that are in your PC, it is streaming those games wirelessly into this Oculus headset. So I can play any of my PC VR games wirelessly with no cords. And I'm free to move around all around this apartment any way I want to. So, but with me sitting in this rig right here, the cord ain't no big deal because, you know, I'm sitting and I'm not moving around. You said, why do you think Sony is still going with VR and Xbox is not pursuing it? I know that's the other opinion. Now, look, I did a video on this a couple of years ago. You have to remember what Phil Spencer said back in the summer of 2017. I believe that's the year the Xbox One X launched. Phil Spencer promised high fidelity VR, and they were going to do it through Oculus. Oculus was going to be the headset that you use on the Xbox One X. But I think they killed it for maybe one of two reasons. One is I'm not so sure that the Xbox One X would have been able to run those games. I think it would have because it had the same amount of power as the Xbox as the PS4 Pro. But the current Xbox One, if they would have tried to bring VR to that console, I don't think it would have worked because that console was way too weak at one point. I think at 1.6 teraflops. And I think the other reason why Xbox didn't jump into VR is because look how many Oculus headsets have been out over the past 5 years. When I bought an Oculus Rift CV1 back in 2019. Since then, since 2019, Oculus has come out with the Oculus Rift CV1. Then they came out, I think like a year later, they came out with the Oculus Rift S and the Oculus Quest in the same year. So we're already up to 3 headsets in 1 year. And then they came out with the Oculus Quest 2. So we're talking 4 headsets in like 3 years. So what if the Xbox people have to keep up with every one of those headsets? They are going to be pissed. If they bring the Oculus Rift CV1 to the Xbox, Oculus discontinues that headset and they don't make that headset anymore. Therefore, you can't get the headset repaired if it takes a crap. Now you have to upgrade to the Oculus Rift S. The Oculus Rift S, they discontinue that headset. If that headset takes a crap, you're screwed. You have to go look for it. You have to try to buy another one off of eBay or Craigslist. Then they come out with the Oculus Quest. Now, the Oculus Quest, through Oculus Link, you can connect it to a PC. But same thing. They only ran that headset for about a year, year and a half, and then they discontinued it. So if your Oculus Quest takes a dump, you're screwed because they discontinued the headset. Now, in the case of the Oculus Quest 2, they have promised that they will support this headset for the next few years. So there is actually a rumor, and I will name the person, my boy Craig Harris, saying that there's, rumors from insiders that he knows that Oculus is still looking into bringing VR. I mean, not Oculus, but Xbox is still looking to bring VR to their platform. So I'm led to believe that if they do it, Facebook or Meta would still be the person, because Microsoft has a good relationship with Facebook. Because when Microsoft shut down Mixer, they told everybody, like, if you want to follow all these people that was on Mixer, go over to Facebook Gaming. Why would you advertise them as the platform that everybody should transition over to unless you have a good relationship with them? So Microsoft does, in my opinion, have a good relationship with Facebook. I'm going to continue to so in my opinion, if Microsoft still dives into VR, one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to go with the Oculus Quest, they're going to go with the Quest 2, and Facebook is still going to continue to support this headset for the next few years. So people won't have to worry that if their headset takes a crap, they won't have to worry about trying to get parts or just outright buying a new headset. Or Facebook will create a special Xbox version of that headset. Now, from what I understand, the Oculus Rift S is basically, I believe it's basically the PlayStation VR. Sony licensed out the design of the PlayStation VR headset to third-party manufacturers. And the Oculus Rift S was manufactured by Lenovo. Matter of fact, let me go grab my Oculus Rift S. See right there? The Halo headband? I mean, this Oculus Rift S, doesn't this look eerily similar to the PlayStation VR with that Halo head strap? And it's on the side here, Lenovo on the side right here. I'll bring it up close so you guys can see it. So yeah, basically this Rift S, I think it took its basic design from PlayStation VR. Tantrum, you said the Halo design is a Sony trademark, so Meta and Lenovo pay royalties to Sony. It is why Meta discontinued the Rift S. Well, and with them moving on to standalone VR, it makes sense. Speaking of which, J-Wags was asking earlier, do you think the PSVR 2 headset would come to PC? I will say that I think it's a good possibility because of the chip shortage, because that's how they could mitigate the chip shortage by allowing people to buy the headset that can't get a PS5. But I will say that even if the actual PSVR 2 headset does not come to PC, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony does the same thing again and licenses out the PSVR 2 headset to third-party publishers, to third-party manufacturers. Let's go with a different car. All right. Look at PSVR 2. It uses the Halo design. I can't say for certain. I have to do the research, but I think it seems like I might have heard that Sony had already was like licensing out PSVR 2, even though we didn't know what the headset looked like. You know, that they were licensing out the design to third parties. So in that sense, yeah, in some aspect, yeah, you could see maybe somebody like Samsung comes along and they pay the licensing fees for the PSVR 2 design, and maybe they come out with a another headset, because they did have a headset before. They had the Samsung Odyssey, and I think they had the Odyssey 2, if I'm not mistaken. The problem with that headset was that it was a mixed reality headset, and although their controllers looked a lot like these Oculus Touch controllers, the tracking was not near as good as the Oculus. Yeah, I see your avatar with that PSVR 2. That was the first thing I noticed when they finally revealed the headset. Let me see. I think we might see a little more gameplay from Horizon Call of the Mountain. I think that's a strong possibility for this week's State of Play. Also, definitely tune in, because I got your stream on my TV now. I'm going to be ready to wrap this up here pretty soon. So as far as I know, the Halo design belongs to Sony. I believe so. Because I'll be ready to wrap this up shortly. I do want to tell everybody, definitely tune in. I believe it's this Thursday. For me, it'll be 6 p.m. Eastern. Definitely tune in, because I'm going to do a live reaction for this State of Play. So I don't give a shit about copyright claims and stuff like that, because, you know, looking at my revenue, I don't make shit off of YouTube anyway. If I'm lucky, I might make $1 off of a video. so tune in, and definitely tune in live if you can, because chances are there's going to be some music and there's going to be some material within that State of Play that's going to have copyrights on it, and so I'm probably going to get hit with a copyright claim, and the replay of that stream could conceivably get blocked. No, I'm not going to take it down, Vegeta. I'm not going to take it down. I'm just forewarning you that, like, there might be songs and shit like that might have copyrights, and my stream could conceivably get hit with a copyright claim, and it could get blocked in certain regions. So if you can help it, try to catch it live. I'll leave it up, but I can't promise that it won't get blocked, is what I'm saying. So, but I'm definitely looking forward to this. I get you. Just know you will be competing without parole. No, I'm not competing with him. Like, it's just a whole bunch of people are going to be streaming this shit live. I'm going to be streaming it live. PSVR without parole is going to be streaming it live. I think it's a pretty good chance my friend Gamertag is going to be streaming it live. Because I think all the big VR YouTubers are going to be streaming this shit live. I wouldn't be surprised if you said just kidding. Yeah, I got you. My other friend Steve knows I wouldn't be surprised if he streams it live. Because that's just on the VR side. And then on the flat screen side, you know, I assume, like, you know, Sick Humor's going to stream it live. Let me see. I think BitCloud, I think he'll stream it live. You know, and all these people that I mentioned, these are all people that I know personally. Out of all the people that I mentioned, Brian of PSVR Without Parole is the only one that I don't know personally. It's a big show now that we know what to expect. They will show PSVR content. Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, a lot of people on both sides, flat screeners and VR streamers, they're going to be showing this. So a lot of people. So I'm just going to be, you know, I'm just going to be an ant on the sidewalk, you know what I mean? But hey, you know, for those of you that tune in, I will definitely appreciate it. So what time do we got here? It is 3:35 in the morning. This is a 3-day weekend for me, so because of Memorial Day. So I think I'm going to get ready to wrap it up here. I want to get some practice on a set of courses with the mods. I'm going to head out. See you around. Thanks, Tantrum. Appreciate it. I think I'm going to get some practice on a set of courses with the mods. And I want to stream it. What I don't know is whether I'm going to stream it on YouTube or stream it on Twitch. Probably better off to stream it on YouTube. Because I mentioned that earlier on my Alvo stream that I was talking to Ham about us possibly doing an event for the 24 hours of Le Mans, maybe do an event the weekend before. And, you know, assuming we follow through with that, I want to get some practice because I want to use the Mazda 787B in that event if we should decide to do it, because here it is right here. This car is legendary. I have become fixated on this car over the past, you know, few years. Because this car, after it won the Le Mans, they are the first Japanese manufacturer to win Le Mans. I think they are also the only manufacturer to win Le Mans with a rotary engine. And subsequently, that's why they got banned the next year. When this car was banned from competing in Le Mans, when I went back and tried to do some research on the articles at the time, they tried to make it sound like Mazda might have cheated and nobody's really talking about it. It turned out that rule changes were being worked on at the time. And one of the rule changes is they were going to outlaw the rotary engine. So the year that this car won Le Mans was the last year that the rotary engine was able to compete legally in the race. So after that, the next year, the rules took effect and the rotary engine was banned from competing. And subsequently, that meant Mazda was banned from competing on the circuit. But I think they were just recently allowed back just a couple of years ago. So I don't know if Mazda is going to get back into Le Mans or not. If they do, I would imagine they're probably going to build some kind of hypercar, because I think the hypercar class has replaced the LMP1 class. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's an old car, I believe 1991. Still a beautiful car. Historic. Johnny Herbert did a double stint on the 24 Hours of Le Mans when they won the race. And when the race was over, he wasn't even supposed to walk because he had a horrible F1 accident. Peace, Jay Fields. And his legs got screwed up, and he wasn't even supposed to walk again. But not only did he compete in this race, he did a double stint, and he was the one who crossed the finish line in when they run the race. He was the one that was driving this car, and he was so exhausted and so beat up from the race that they basically pulled him out the car, put him on a stretcher, and took him straight to the hospital. He wasn't even able to stand on the podium to celebrate with his teammates. You know, and I seen that quick clip of him when they were like pulling him out of the car and putting him on a stretcher. He was damn near unconscious. So this car through the years had basically gone on tours to a lot of different places, so they can hear the car run or actually see it in action going around tracks. Now, from what I understand about this car, you know, that this car was so loud that when it competed at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the announcers had to warn people when the car was coming because of how loud it was, and people had to cover their ears as the car was going by. So I really love the history of this car. And, you know, I've like been kind of basically overdosing on documentaries featuring this car. So really, really cool tidbit there. And that was one of the reasons why I was really looking forward to PSVR 2, is because I wanted to be able to drive this car in VR against a full grid online. I can drive this car in VR on GT Sport, but it's only one-on-one against the AI in time trials. That's it. But GT7, I thought was going to be the only way that I was going to be able to drive this car in VR online against a full grid. That was before I discovered the Assetto Corsa mods. So through the Assetto Corsa mods, I am driving this car in VR against a full grid, and I can go online and compete and race with this car. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, that's why I did that stream talking about the Assetto Corsa mods, because as far as this game goes, I don't have to wait for VR, because any game, any track that's on this game, I can get hold of those tracks or those cars through the VR mods, and I can race them in VR. And that's why this past Monday, when I did that stream regarding, not this past Monday, Thursday, when they did the update and they showed us the new, and they added the new Toyota hypercar. Yeah, let me show you. Let me show you guys before I go. Let's go to Brand Central. And go to Toyota. So show you guys before I go. This car here. This is the new hypercar. Same deal. I thought GT7 was going to be the only way that I could drive this car in VR online against a full grid. That was before the Assetto Corsa mod. I have this car through the Assetto Corsa mods, and I can drive this car in VR. And I love it. The car sounds weird, but I can drive this car in VR. And I got it for free. I did not have to pay for it because of the VR mods. Whereas this car right here, it costs 3 million credits. You guys see that right there. It's 3 million credits. Based on the egregious microtransaction economy that they have in this game, look. You guys will see it in a second. Well, maybe it won't show it. So just in case it doesn't show it, if you want to purchase credits, you got 100,000 credits for $2.49 of real money. Let's skip on all the way over to the end. You've got 2 million in credits that cost $20 in real money. That car costs 3 million credits. That means I would have to spend $40 in real money in order to buy this car. Why would I pay $40 in real money for this car when I'm playing it for free on a set of Corsa and I'm driving the car in VR? No, I will not buy this car, especially not right now with the game not having VR support. Maybe when the game has VR support, maybe then I could revisit either buying the car with in-game credits, just basically start saving my in-game credits to work my way towards buying this car, or maybe the microtransactions will be cheaper by then. But right now, shit, no, hell no, fuck no, I'm not paying $3 million for this car, and I got it for free over on PC. As a matter of fact, if I decide to do the Assetto Corsa stream, I will drive this car so you guys can see it in action in VR. So with that, now I think it's time to go ahead and boogie on out of here. This has been a great podcast. Truthfully, I originally wanted to do this through Live from Wakanda. I was talking about bringing that show back. And Craig Harris is urging me to bring the show back and do it like we used to, where I would do the show and he would come on as a guest pretty much every week. So we were basically the 1-2 punch with Live from Wakanda. Now, next Saturday, I could possibly do it, depending on what they show us for this state of play come Thursday. I could possibly do a Live from Wakanda show next week and talk about the stuff that they showed us. And if I do decide to bring back Live from Wakanda and do like a special show next Saturday, I will get in touch with Craig Harris and ask him to come on as a guest. So we'll see how that plays out. Just throwing that out there, no promises, but still throwing it out there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and boogie on out of here. And if I should decide to stream the Assetto Corsa mods, you will probably see me in a few hours after I get a bite to eat and get a short nap in. And with that, thanks for watching, everybody. This has been absolutely wonderful. I enjoyed it. And we'll catch you on the next one. Until then, you guys know the line. Wakanda forever. Long live the king, and deuces. We'll see y'all soon. Everybody, enjoy your Sunday. I know here in Michigan, here in Grand Rapids, is going to be 82 degrees. Somewhat of a warm day, but probably a gorgeous day. So enjoy your day, everybody, and we'll see y'all in a little while. Easy.